Here we go.
Do it.
Okay, cool.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Coffin Talkin', where we unravel the mysteries, embrace the peculiar, and find humor in the unconventional world of funerals and death. I'm here today with our two favorite coffin boys.
Coffin boys.
Coffin
Okay.
boys, Frank and Scott.
Wow. Hi, Holly.
Hello. Oh, sorry.
Hi, Scott.
Hi, Holly. Hi, Dad.
How's it going?
Good.
Good. You got all smiles and you look a little kind of semi-relaxed. That's good.
Oh, yeah. I told Holly earlier I'd woken up from like an hour and a half nap, and I don't take naps. And so, yeah, so I feel like I was a little under the weather today. So that nap definitely helped out a little bit.
Good.
Which is good.
Your voice sounds a little groggy, and not even like nap groggy, but like a little sick.
What about now? How does it sound now?
What about now?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I think it was just from waking up. Yeah. And I didn't have to work today, and so I don't think I've said anything out loud today. So there you go. This is the first. But I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be toting my title of Coffin Boy.
Coffin Boy!
What would really add to the title, though, Scott, is if you and we'll turn the time over to Coffin Boy.
That's true.
All right. Anything new to report, Scott? Anything? We haven't talked to you for a while. Has it been 6 months? How long has it been?
No, it hasn't. I actually did look because the last one was, I think we said 5 months is what we said.
That's right.
Okay.
It was a gross exaggeration.
Yeah, you're right. 1 month or 6 months versus 5 months. You're right.
Yeah.
But no, I think the last one was early April. So no, I think we're right on track for
good
fun of funerals, pretty much. So.
Well, you have to give the people a update.
Let's see. I'm kind of considering different careers right now that I could pursue. Currently in HVAC, which in Arizona. I don't remember if I was telling you, Holly, but I feel like the ironic thing about HVAC, which is servicing, installing people's air conditioning and heating needs. The ironic thing is that you are almost never in air conditioning, which is...
That's true until you fix it.
Until you fix it.
And then you're out the door.
And then you're out the door.
Unless the homeowners say, step inside, cool off just a little bit. Yeah. Enjoy your work.
Yeah. So
yeah. Okay.
They haven't said that yet.
Oh, darn it. Coffiners, if Scott comes to your door, let him bask in the coolness after all the work's been done.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, okay.
But it's been really insightful. I've enjoyed that so far. It is very hot, though. Holy cow.
Learning all sorts of new things, though?
Learning all sorts of new things.
Good.
Which is great. I like the knowledge. The knowledge is very good. Other than that, good things.
Good things. Very nice. Very cryptic.
Thank you.
But that's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad that good things are happening to you.
Good things are happening to me. Oh,
I'm excited. I'm really excited to meet good things.
Yes. Yes. I won't mention any names. I don't know if they'd be okay with that, but a nice little relationship has blossomed.
Ooh, in the heat of the of the
what,
air condition. Here's the thing, Scott. I was gonna say in the heat of the non-air conditioned house. But this has been happening more and more frequently. I start sentences and I cannot find them.
Oh, wow.
for the life of me. So good luck
Okay.
today.
Well, good. Great. Well, I'm excited to hear your update then.
I was
What?
just thinking of it as I looked down at my feet. So do you remember when we went camping? I feel like I shared that as an update. Did I not?
Well, you have to go more than that. Who went camping? You, your
Me and
friend, and Caden?
No, me and Caden and his grandparents
Okay.
and his aunt and uncle. We all went camping. This was like 3 or 4 weeks ago now.
Okay.
And I got a bug bite on my toe.
Mm-hmm.
And it sticked around for 2 weeks. And my toe was all swollen. It was turning purple. And I just looked down at my foot.
Stuck
It doesn't
around.
hurt anymore. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
I knew it was wrong, but I didn't have it in my head to fix it.
okay. I'm sorry. Go on.
I just looked down and it's not swollen or anything anymore, but the flesh is dying.
Really?
It's purple.
Jeez. What? This was 3 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I've never been super attached to my toes, so I don't mind if I lose one.
Well, I'll tell you what. They've been super attached to you for.
Yeah, I know that's true. That's true.
And
Yeah, I'm looking to
pretty
shake
proud
that
of
up.
That one.
Things
So
will
that's
change
a
here.
fun update.
Which toe is it?
The middle toe on my right foot.
Yeah,
Could you see
need
bite
it.
marks?
forget it.
Has Nelson
I-
sucked out the venom?
Oh,
Yeah, he's dead now.
oh wow.
No, I would be inconsolable. No, I don't think so. I'm assuming it was a spider just because of how bad it got. But also, there's all sorts of bugs, and the bugs don't hold back. This is what I've learned. And you know what else I've learned? If you're going to go camping in the forest, you should not wear sandals.
Oh my.
This is a bad idea.
Yeah.
You should always wear your tennies. And you should always have socks on.
And a hatchet at your side.
That's right. So you can just chop off the toe right off the bat.
That's right. Stops the blood flowing to your body.
Scott, what was
Yeah.
that face?
You said tennies, and I have a weird
You hate
thing
that?
with abbreviations. I don't like it. People say perf, and I hate it.
What's
I can't
perf?
stand it.
Oh, perfect.
For perfect, yeah. Perf, tennies.
I will admit, I love saying tennies. And I just started. When we went camping, I said, do you think I should bring my tennies? And then I thought, I'm going to say that for the rest of my life.
Ew.
And then I thought, somewhere in Arizona, in a very hot attic, Scott just died a little bit in his soul.
Yeah, that's what it's been. Yeah. You know what the other one is? When people say chicken nuggies instead of nuggets.
Nuggies.
I hate it.
What about nugs? Because I say nugs.
No, that's terrible.
Really? That even nugs?
It's bad.
Oh. What about I can't think of a single thing. I don't
That's
know why I
fine.
thought I'd be able to on the spot.
Yeah, it's fine. Tell us about your update, Frank. We don't need to continue this.
Well, gee, I don't know. My update. Coffiners, I think, hear my updates all the time, and so I don't know that I really want to. I don't really have anything new to share.
Well, that's not the game. You have to share.
What about a Scott moment? What about one of those things where you could ask Scott a question so they get to know him a little better?
But it's not alliteration because yours is Frank fact. We could do an accounting route and go Scott statistic.
What about a Scott want?
Scott want?
That's not alliteration either.
Okay, hold on. What about a Scott
Surprise.
Yeah.
Ooh, a Scott surprise! I could get behind that.
Too bad there are none.
Oh no! Surprise, there are none.
Surprise.
Oh.
Well, then I think we have to ask Dad a Frank fact. I don't know if you've been on since we started doing this, Scott, but
I've not.
if
Wow.
Dad doesn't have anything to report,
Wow.
then I ask him a Frank fact, and he has to answer it honestly, and I say,
Wow.
we'll know if you're lying.
Well, no. We'll know.
So let me think of today's. What is your, oh, sorry, Dad, sore subject. What was your favorite smell?
Oh, it was my favorite smell. Man, it's been forever, but kind of want to say flowers, but I don't know. I don't know if that would be true or not because I'd have to recall on all sorts of smells, and nothing's coming to mind. So I'm gonna just, and I don't know if I'm lying or not, but I'm gonna say flowers.
We'll accept it since you don't even know if you're lying.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thanks.
Scott, surprise! I would like to know your favorite smell as well.
I really like the smells that are associated with the last quarter of the year. That's what I'll say.
So
So the
Christmas
fall.
smells?
Fall and Christmas winter smells. Those are the best smells.
Cinnamon, evergreen. That's the only two I can think of.
Those are my favorite.
Fresh cookies, like baking.
More so like the candles that you can get.
Scott's big into candles. That's a Scott surprise.
I like candles.
You like the wicker ones, right?
The wood wick.
I like the wood wick.
Yeah,
that's the best.
That crackle when they burn. Those are awesome.
They're on like a different level of candle. They're so fancy, and you just feel cozy. Because candle, you don't really get heat from a candle. That's not what you're looking for.
No.
But that crackle, it's about the atmosphere, and that's what creates the atmosphere.
Yes.
That and the smell of the season.
That's true. And it's unacceptable pretty much for 8 months of the year in Arizona. So there's only a few months that we can enjoy that. Well, if you couldn't tell, the show is about funerals and death. So we've covered everything except for those two, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. We've been getting derailed faster and faster these days.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, let's be skrank.
Excellent. Thanks, Holly. We're just going to jump right in. A little bit of there are questions that I have, and I think these questions are very appropriate because this week I showed a coworker some of the more supernatural episodes that we've had on the podcast. So some of these, I'm going to use a lot of them that are based around that. So it's going to be kind of a fun thing. And as always, Frank has not heard these questions. It is an off-the-cuff reaction. Tell us, what was your... Yeah, off the cuff. Yeah, you can't see us right now, but he's showing me that he has no cuffs. So nothing's changed in the past. That's right. Yeah, that's good. So tell us, what was your very first supernatural experience? Doesn't even have to be within the industry.
So I'm going to tell you, this is an experience that I've kind of kept quiet. I haven't really shared it all. It has nothing to do with funerals at all.
You do not need to share it if it's too personal.
It's not too personal. But when my father passed away, I always told you that there was always things surrounding his viewing that I thought that there would be interesting things taking place behind the scenes that I would be interested in knowing about. So that kind of drew me into kind of clicked in my mind. But there was another experience with my father when he passed away. And that was when the night of the viewing, when everybody was leaving and we were asked to exit the building. I just remembered looking at my father one last time, and it was almost like his hands were on his belly, but it was like a finger arose, and like he was saying, "Just 1 minute." And so I paused, and I just waited there. And I don't know truthfully if I don't think his hand physically did it. I think I saw it do it. Do you see and understand what I'm saying? It's not like it was that he physically did it, but as I looked at him, it was almost as if the spirit or something else that was with him just motioned for me to wait just a minute. Now, why I waited, I don't know why. but that's the feeling that I got. And so that was probably my very first, that I can recall, very first experience with that. And I don't know if that makes sense to you guys or not, but I do. I still remember that.
And you don't really have any inclination of why.
No, no. As a matter of fact, I think one of the latest episodes we did, I always remember that episode, and I keep thinking back, thinking, what was the purpose of that episode? Anyway, coffiners, as you listen to those episodes, you'll see, because I was actually asking myself, and Holly and I were bouncing some things around as to why I saw what I saw, and I just kept thinking I missed something because I should have been doing something different, but nothing came to mind, and so I just continued on with life, and I have a feeling I missed something with Dad, but I don't know. Truly, I don't know. I just know that was the first time that I made a recollection of what transpired.
I was talking to Caden about this the other day. After we had finished recording, I think it was the clue title. I don't remember what I actually named it. The ghost in the prep room with the glass vase or something like that. It was the ghost in the, yeah. I was trying to tell Caden about the story. We were just saying sometimes this podcast is so frustrating because there's no like resolution.
Yeah.
Like all of these things happen, but you don't know why. You don't know what was actually going on or how it was going on. And so, yeah, it's just kind of interesting where you always feel like, what if I missed something?
I think that episode was the ghost in the prep room with the urn, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess sometimes things are not always resolved, but if any coffiners ever have resolutions, or if they have ideas of why things might happen, then let us know. Write to us, and
I think it would be interesting to hear some of their comments regarding some of the episodes and saying, "Oh, this had to have happened," or "This happened," and this is probably what happened, and
yeah, definitely. So let us know if you have any ideas. On that vein, how often does something, obviously the one that you mentioned just now probably wasn't a spooky thing, but how often does something spooky or unexplainable happen to you?
I think it all depends on how busy I am. And when coffiners, I'm going to tell you something that I truly believe, and that is, I think that our spiritual, and I don't know if you want to call them misgivings, just something that might be happening that's out of the ordinary that you're not paying attention to all the time around you. And I think that if you just take your time and just take a look at what it is that's happening around you, I think you would start noticing. And that's kind of what I do. And that's why I say it depends on how busy I am. Because sometimes I get so busy that I get focused on work and not work, if that makes sense. Because I get focused on doing the mundane things instead of focusing on the deceased, which is truly the work that should be focused on. So I think the more I focus on the deceased, then the more apt I am to have some sort of an experience or circumstance that would cause me to go, I don't know, to tell you the truth. If you want a specific, I would say probably 60 days, 70 days, every 70 days. Okay. Sometimes it's more frequent than that, but I would say on average, that would be a good number, about 70 days. If I haven't had anything happen in 2 weeks or 2 months, then I start doing some introspection and I start thinking, okay, what's happening here? Why aren't I experiencing some of what I feel and I have experienced in a normal and a fashion in the past? So why aren't I feeling it now? So yeah, it's all very interesting to me. I think that's a great question, by the way, because I've never really focused on it before, but I would guess, and to to me, that seems quite often. Does it to you guys? Does that seem like if I'm getting something or experiencing something with every 30 or every 60 days, 70 days, that to me, as I'm saying it out loud, that seems pretty frequent.
So it's almost strange for you if something has not happened.
Yes. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I don't panic. I just really start to question what's happening if it goes a full 3 months with nothing, or nothing that I haven't noticed, or that I haven't noticed anything. then I do. It does bother me just a little bit.
So then, with these things happening so frequently, you take inventory of yourself if they don't happen. Let's talk about what I don't know if you would consider them frightening, but us listening, we listen to some of these stories, we probably consider them pretty frightening that, if it doesn't happen to us all the time, how are you processing these things? How do you deal with this in your mind mentally, psychologically, emotionally? How do you process these things?
I think it's a good question, only because the processing factor for me is a little different. Some of the episodes that we talk about that are a little harried, I would say, and I think in one of the episodes I just said I had to go back because it's my job, and so I think that sometimes when I'm almost to the point where I'm more inquisitive now. So if something has happened and I forget about it, and then all of a sudden I remember, oh yeah, I got to go back and see what happened here, or why this is happening. So I'll always go back to it, even though I may not be able to do it at the specific moment. So in my mind process, I would say that the way my mind is functioning these days is I remember it. I don't attend if I don't give it any attention at the moment. Then later, when my mind is starting to relax, like, oh my gosh, oh yeah, I got to remember to go back and see. So in other, okay, I've repeated myself. So the process is for my mind is I want to go ahead and investigate, and that sets my mind at ease. So the more I investigate what it is that's taking place around me, or questions, if I just ask a question out in the open, some people may think I'm crazy because it looks like I'm talking to myself. But when I start asking the questions, then yeah, it starts to, just like a snowball effect, it just starts to get bigger and bigger and starts to unfold. So that's the reason why. And sometimes questions go go unanswered. And so I don't know exactly how to express on that. But the question that I do have, most often than not, whenever an occurrence happens, I just say, why? And then just start the investigation. I start going through things that have been happening in the building that day, maybe in the past week, and eventually I get to an answer. So I think, does that answer your question, Scott? As
I
far
think
as the
it does.
process? Okay.
I think it does.
Do you have
Absolutely.
any questions on that, Holly?
No, I don't think it was necessarily truthful.
What? What do you think
Because
it would be truthful?
no, I'm just saying because you said now I'm more curious, but you tell us stories of like 30 years ago when
Yeah.
you're just starting in the career and you're like, yeah, this crazy thing happened. And then I went back into the room that it happened
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
just to see what was going on. I think you've always been like that. Not that it wasn't truthful, that was dramatic.
It could very well be, excepting that now I'm a little more focused on the investigation part. And
Yeah.
whereas before it was more
It's more
curiosity.
like what's happening.
Yeah.
But
And
now
so
it's
now I want to
more,
know the cause.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well, on that note, do you have any recent strange things that might have happened that Holly mentioned to me? You also mentioned to me the thing that sits right behind you in our recording.
Oh, yeah.
Tell
Yeah.
us if you want.
Okay. All right. So a couple of weeks ago when we were doing an episode, I I usually will record in the bedroom, and behind me is the bathroom door. And that bathroom door always open. So you can look at it now. Do you guys see it in the background? See how it's open?
Yeah.
So we had just barely started, if I remember correctly, Holly, and you had said, "Hey, I think your door's moving." And so I just turned around and looked, and to me at that moment, the door was open. But as we continued talking, the door actually closed. And so I went back, and Holly was asking if it was on a frame that was tilted just a little bit, that the door would obviously close or start to close or work its way closed. And that's not true. That door is not like that. It's always open. And so when it closed, I just thought, oh, that's weird. So I just stood up, walked in the back, and opened. The light is always on. And so I looked at the base of the door to see if I could see any shadow movement. And I didn't see anything. So I went and opened the door, came back, and we started continuing on with our episode. And the door, if I'm not mistaken, the door closed again. Only this time I heard a little bit of a scuffle noise. So to me, it told me that someone was there that I didn't see, and that they wanted to be recognized for being there. So we continued and finished the podcast, and I went back in there and I just started, and I just sat, I put my bottom on the sink, that countertop there in the bathroom, and I was just staring at the wall of the shower. And I said, "Hey, if you're here, you need to start making your way out, because if I brought you home, I didn't mean to. I don't know why you're following me. I don't know why you're in the house." And so the interesting thing was is I was sitting in the restroom, the door closed with me on the inside. And I've had this discussion before. I would rather have a door closed with me and the whatever is on in the building in with me. I don't want it. I don't want it on the other side of the door. I want it to stay right there with me so that I know exactly what I'm dealing with. And even then, I couldn't get any type of reaction from whatever might have been the presence in the house. And so I opened the door, and I did something in coffiners. If you were religious people, I said a prayer, and I asked that the area of this particular part of our house be cleansed, and that it be safe and for other individuals that might be coming into the house. And then as I did that, I went downstairs and I just opened the two doors. I opened our back door and opened our front door, and I just casually said, I'm inviting you to leave. And as that happened, I didn't hear anything. I didn't notice anything in movement of doors downstairs, but we haven't had any issues since. I'm knocking on wood. So anyway, the fictitious one will hear this and probably get a little nervous, but I'm pretty certain that nothing is here. Anyway, that was one of the things that happened most recently, and it happened oddly enough during a podcast or during an episode. So yeah, Holly was witness to that, and so yeah, that's probably the most recent thing that's happened besides heavy breathing in the prep room. But was yeah, we'll talk about that one in another episode. But
Boy,
Yuck.
that's interesting.
there's a teaser for you, coffiners. So anyway, yeah, thanks for that. That's probably the most recent thing that's happened.
So just to follow up, what do you make of that? And then I think Holly has a follow up as well.
What do I make of that?
Yeah, what do you think? You mentioned, you alluded a little bit. You think something just maybe followed you home, or yeah?
And I think I'll be honest with you, when I'm totally exhausted and it had been a very, very busy week, I think I'm a little more vulnerable to allowing things to be attached to me. And so I think that's what essentially happened. I was just too exhausted to realize that something had attached. And so without giving it any attention, it decided to draw attention to itself. And so I think that's what happened. And I think, once the attention was given and a little brief description of what I was witnessing and saying, you need to move on, I think that was all they really needed. All they really wanted was just that acknowledgement that they were there. So that's, in my mind, that's kind of what I thought and have figured was probably happening. But that's another thing too, coffiners, you got to be aware, and I'll say this point blank, is that when you're exhausted and tired, that's when things will start to either attach themselves to you because you don't have your defenses up, or you'll witness things and you'll just blow them away as though they're nothing. I'm imagining that. And be careful when you do that, because sometimes, just through past experience, sometimes things can attach to you that you don't anticipate, want, or willfully want to have that happen to. As far as have it happen to you, and if you get a visual about attaching something, it's like, you're just like someone's grabbing your arm, but you're so tired you don't really sense it. But if you're wide awake, you sense stuff like that. And so, anyway, I don't know. Truthfully, Scott, I don't know. That's all conjecture. I'm just guessing at this point.
One thing that I will add to the story that I found hilarious is that at the beginning, when we were recording, you kept looking behind you because you kept hearing noises.
Yeah.
In the bathroom and in the closet.
Yeah.
And I at one point I stopped because this is not normal. And I was like, "Are you okay? Are you hearing anything?"
Mm-hmm.
And you said, "Yeah, I think someone's in the house." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, you need to go check it out." And you remember what your response was?
No.
You said, "No, it's fine. Let's just keep recording." Yeah, if there's an intruder, it's fine.
It's fine.
No, it's fine. Let's just keep going.
Maybe that's your point about exhaustion.
It could be.
Not really the same choice there. It's fine.
Funny.
It's fine.
Oh my word. Yeah, no,
really
it's good. Let's go ahead. Let's keep going.
No, I think if somebody was there though, then they might have just been closing the door because they thought I've heard this one already. Nah, it's fine.
I did think
Heard
for
this
one second.
I've lived it.
Yeah, I lived this one already.
I did think because that was when we recorded the ghost in the prep room with the glass urn.
Yeah.
And I was wondering because that's kind of a weird one where like a spirit kind of like attacked you in a way.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, I wonder if it's the same one. Do you think that like that
was so long
they
ago
can be summoned or something?
I don't know. It was so long ago that it would be hard to believe. I believe that once the spirit moves on, it moves on. That's
Can't
my
come
belief.
back.
No, I didn't say it couldn't come back. I just don't think they'd have any reason to come back. So,
That's a good point.
I mean, everything's so much better on the other side, and when they move on, why would you come back?
Yeah.
So that's
Haunt Frank.
There, see? Okay. VHF, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm curious as well. And this isn't something that can be answered, but just to know, I mean, if there ever is a point that these things will be explained, just to see, like, I would imagine, and I would almost wager that a lot of these things probably don't have any malicious intent.
I don't think so
at
either.
all. Yeah. No. We've seen a lot of evidence from you and other people on this show that that there is, we could call it supernatural, paranormal stuff, but I doubt that a lot of it is malicious.
Yeah. There are some times when, in some of the episodes that we've talked about, the axe, free hoodie, those
Creepy
two,
Crib.
Yeah, creepy crib. Those will allow me to have the hair on my arms and neck stand up. So whether that's malicious or not, but whenever there's, and I don't think so. I think it's just whenever there's a close encounter like that for me, I think that's how my body tells me that something's near. So anyway, yeah, I don't think it's malicious at all. And I think that as soon as I start thinking that, then it does become malicious, but I've never thought that.
I would think that some of the stories that you've told, there are definitely spirits out there that are malicious.
Yep.
Because, I mean, the crypt one, how do you explain that is not malicious?
Yeah,
the free hoodie
is a different one.
The free hoodie, how do you explain that that's not malicious? I'm even thinking of We've Got a Runner, and I don't know how you explain that that's not malicious even.
I think that even if coffiners aren't familiar with them, to go back, and I would love to hear what you think, especially if you've just logged on and just happened to find us by happenstance. It would be interesting to see what your thoughts are, and feel free to tell us, and Holly will tell you how to get a hold of us at the end of the episode, or Scott will. It's either way, I just think it's interesting, no matter what the occurrence or no matter what the circumstance, to feel like we are still interacting with one another as we see one another, but there's others interacting with us that we may not always see, but the influence is there, if that makes sense. So that's my belief anyway, that sometimes unseen forces can help us, guide us, allow us to be better people. So
Yeah, I think that's a pretty positive way to look at it. And
mm-hmm.
I think too many times people's first instinct, and yeah, sure, there are some like we've heard, but too many times your first instinct is to go, oh my gosh, this is creepy, this is scary, but might not always be the case. So,
yeah.
But anyway, I think we've used a lot of time talking about those, and I think we will turn the time back to Holly.
Holly, wake up. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Well, we do have a story today, but I do want to read. I don't know if coffiners you've seen this, but some of you obviously have. There must be this setting. I think it's coming from Spotify. It might come from Apple Podcasts as well, where you can send us fan mail. And I just want to read a couple of the fan mails because they make me so happy just to hear from you guys and just know that people are actually listening. And that, this means something, even if it's something small to you. So I do want to just read the past two that we've gotten. The first is from a listener in New York. They said, "Hey, I'm enjoying the podcast. Frank mentions a book he is writing about his experience. What is the title and is it available for purchase yet? Thank you." So I wanted to share that one because you say it all the time.
Yeah. And I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you, coffiners. Since this podcast has actually hit the airwaves, I haven't addressed my book as much as I wanted to. So, but the title of the book is "Memories Don't Stop at 6 Feet Deep," and it's very close to being sent to the editor. I've sent either 26, maybe 30 stories to an editor who's very interested in editing the whole book. So, I think it'll be a good seller. And it's just a kind of like what this podcast is, just a series of small stories, simple stories that occur within the life of a funeral director. Me, for instance, not necessarily anyone else, but some of the experiences that I've had. Thanks, by the way, for the question. New Yorker, New York coffiners, fantastic.
New York coffiner.
There you go.
And then the next one that we have today that I'm going to share is from Wisconsin. They say, "New fan here. I was Googling funeral home / mortuary podcast to listen to, not to hear the gore of the business, but to hear the fascinating stories that are told. I ran across your podcast today and didn't disappoint. I burned through 5 episodes this afternoon, beginning with the most recent. Frank, you are such a great storyteller. Each story gave one surprise after another. And while the discussions and banter between you both, it's so easy to tell you are a close family with a great sense of humor. Great podcast."
Wow, thanks. Cheesehead. That's what I'll call you.
Oh, wow.
Right. Wow. So now,
we've lost a listener, haven't we? Yep.
You know what? If she's truly a Wisconsinite, she will take that as a compliment. Okay. Man alive. Thanks so much for listening. That's fabulous. Thanks.
Okay. Now we will jump into the story. I will say, though, if you have any questions, just as you're listening, that's a great way to get questions to us as well. If you don't want to take the time to send the email, I totally get that. So just shoot us a question there. I don't know how you found it, but it's obviously somewhere. So if you can find it, send us a question or send us comments. Love to hear from you guys. But let's jump into the story. So this is from a coffiner named Caitlin. She says, "Greetings to all 100 coffiners." So she's a good coffiner. She knows that we've joked.
Yeah.
"My story revolves around my pet. After almost 6 years together, I felt that I and she Pekingese cat knew each other very well. She would wait at the door for me to get home. I would let her outside and would know that she would be at my front door within 30 minutes, wanting to be let back into my house. She would stand on her hind legs, letting me know she was hungry. She would make her way to my bed about 30 minutes before I went to bed, only waiting to be cuddled. You get the picture. On one night, I was very tired, but Fluff is the name, wanted out into the yard. I let her out and was thinking, I hope that I don't fall asleep before she wants back in. I let her out, and as I sat down totally exhausted, it didn't take long for me to fall asleep. I didn't hear Fluff wanting in. In fact, I didn't hear anything. I awoke with a start, realizing that Fluff wasn't in the house. I moved to the door, opened it, and there was Fluff. She was extremely dirty. I let her in, and she immediately began to cough, sneeze, wheeze. I knew something was wrong. I rushed her to the 24-hour vet, only to have her die en route. I was heartbroken. I asked the doctor to perform an autopsy. I needed to know. Oh my gosh, did you hear Nelson just cry?
Well, Nelson's adding to the story.
Yeah. My worst fears were recognized. My Fluff was poisoned. What was even harder to grasp was that it had been someone in my neighborhood. I became suspicious and vigilant about everyone. It was about a month later that I noticed something weird. Here's a backstory. Fluff liked to walk in and through my feet, no, not just mine, but everyone's feet as they walked. It was like she was trying to trip you. I would sometimes get so frustrated that I would yell, Fluff, I'm going to kick you and it won't be my fault. Of course, all anger would falter as a smile that only cats could muster would start. Anyway, I noticed a neighbor on a very clear day having trouble walking on the sidewalk. He would mutter under his breath, what is wrong? I noticed that this was going on for an additional month. Finally, he tripped. I walked over to help him get up. We started talking, and he casually mentioned that the last time that he tripped was because of a stupid white cat that wouldn't leave him alone. So he kicked the cat away. It happened a couple of nights in a row. He couldn't take it anymore, so he lured the cat with a can of food. This time, he had put a surprise in the food. Since that night, he hadn't seen the cat. Oh my gosh. I held back my tears because I knew that he was talking about my Fluff. I could never look at this man the same again, obviously. Every time he waved, I flinched. I knew he was the culprit that perpetrated the demise of my Fluff. Eventually, the anger subsided when one day I saw the man. He was falling over and over. I couldn't see anything at his feet. He began to run, occasionally turning to kick at the air. During one of his turns, he fell backwards, striking his head on the sidewalk. Oh my gosh. An ambulance was called. I received notice that he did not survive the fall. I felt sad, but inwardly was happy that it had happened to him. Sorry. That very night in my house, I felt excited, movement around my feet. Could it be? No. Was Fluff back? It has been about 2 months, and I am still greeted by an unseen purr or head caress. Somehow, it is all better for me now. When Fluff decides to finally leave, I will feel much better about the parting. For now, my Fluff is upstairs on the bed, waiting to be cuddled. I think. Keep up the great work. Thanks for letting me share.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, coffiners. Usually I read these before. I did not read this one. That was wild. What do you guys think?
And you have 2 cats.
I know, and Nelson was screaming throughout it.
Maybe he's channeling the Fluff.
Maybe.
Oh my word. What do you think of that one, Scott?
That I did not expect. I mean, I was having the same reactions that Holly was having. I was like, holy cow. And that was, I mean, I don't know.
You know, sometimes when I see someone running backwards like that and trying to kick or maybe flail their arms, I always think of a bee. That maybe it's a bee that's causing them to run like that. But I never really thought that maybe it was a pet trying to take out frustration on, hey, you ended my life. Let's see what we can do here. And it's interesting that Caitlin would pick up on that.
I will say, aside from all of the reactions that I had while I was reading, thinking about it now, if a cat was murdered, I think a cat is the only creature that would come back and exact vengeance. So I totally buy that.
Okay. Make sure Caden knows those thoughts as well.
Yeah.
So he doesn't, avenge anything on any type of a cat. Oh, boy. Oh, man.
Oh man.
Any other comments
That's
on that?
wild.
It was
No,
wild.
that's
Thanks,
crazy.
Caitlin.
I'm so sorry
Yeah.
about Fluff, Caitlin.
Yeah, no kidding.
Jeez. So sad.
It is sad.
I still can't believe that this stranger that she didn't know just admitted to killing a random neighborhood cat.
And Fluff had
And
to have been
kicking
taken
it.
care of. Had to have been taken care of, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not like
I
it's
mean,
a feral
She
cat
said Fluff was only outside
for
like
30
30
minutes
minutes at a time. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then to be dirty, that makes sense too, right?
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. Fluff.
If Fluff was poisoned, maybe she had a hard time getting back to the house,
Could be.
getting
Could be.
dirty.
Yeah.
I will say, I'll play the advocate, the other side.
Yeah.
I think it's sad that the man died. I think it is. I'm not sure if he deserved it. It's a terrible thing. Do not poison people's animals. He should be punished according to the law, but I don't know. Is this an unpopular thing? Will I be shamed for this? I don't know if he should have died.
Oh my gosh. That is very funny that you have to quote unquote play the opposite side.
Hit the other side. I'm going to take the opposite side.
The other side was saying he didn't deserve to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is very, very true. Having 2 cats, I don't think it's a life for a life. I will say that.
Yeah.
A cat life for a human life, I don't think that's an equal trade. But yes.
Very, very interesting story though. And I like the perspective and the additional credence that it can give to, because we've heard some other stories with pets as well, and that people still kind of feel their
master's presence,
their presence, their influence. So I think it is kind of a fun. Well, somebody's life was lost. We don't know if it was,
Yes.
but somebody's life. But all the other stuff. Just thinking of Fluff running around his feet still. It's a fun image. If he hadn't died, it's a fun image.
If he hadn't died,
we used to have a Pekingese cat growing up named Paka. Paka, and beautiful cat. So bushy and hairy. Oh my gosh. So anyway, when I saw the Pekingese name on there, I go, oh, an immediate,
Paka.
an immediate visual. So yeah, that's too bad. But I'm glad she's at least experiencing that. How did she say it? When the departure finally happens, she'll be much more prepared for it.
Yeah, it's more close.
So I wonder how long that will last. Caitlin,
Closure
if you want
at a cost.
Yeah, if you want to call us back or email us back and let us know if Fluff is still around, I'd be interested in knowing. Do you want to let the coffiners know how to get a hold of us, Holly?
Absolutely. You can always email us at coffintalkingpodcast@gmail.com, or you can send us fan mail somehow. Or
somehow.
You can DM us on Instagram at Coffin Talking.
Isn't that just the Spotify thing that you were talking about?
Is it only on Spotify platform?
I don't know.
See, I don't know. That's why I say somehow.
Okay.
I think it's Spotify. I think at least you have the option through Spotify, but I don't know. So yeah, if you can figure it out, do it.
Fantastic. I love that type of invitation, Holly. Thank you.
Yep.
You can figure it out. Just do it.
Exactly.
That's right.
All we've got today. So say goodbye, coffiners, to Scott. We'll see him again in a month.
Well, yeah. Shout out to my fellow coffin boys and coffin girls.
That's right.
That's right.
You.
Yeah.
All
Thanks,
right,
coffiners.
We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Have a great week.